Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Bookmaker William Hill has been fined £6.2 million for breaching anti-money laundering and social responsibility regulations. The Gambling Commission says the company didn't do enough to ensure prevention measures were taken.
As a result, 10 customers were able to deposit money linked to criminal offences, and William Hill gained £1.2 million.
What the case today showed was that William Hill weren't doing sufficient checks to satisfy themselves about the source of the money, or doing proper checks around people's risk of developing a problem with gambling as well. I'm not sure there's any excuses for any gambling operator not to spot some of these issues. With online, they have huge amounts of data that should show in an early stage people that are showing the signs of problem gambling. So I really don't accept there's any gambling sector that can't take their responsibilities seriously.
Let's talk to Ian King. Hi, Ian. So were William Hill simply lax, or were they in it for the money?
I think a bit of carelessness, to be honest with you, Gamal. I mean, this is part of a concerted crackdown by the Gambling Commission. William Hill is the latest in a number of betting operators to have been wrapped over the knuckles and fined severely by the Gambling Commission. For example, Ladbrokes Coral were fined some £2.3 million in August last year, and then 888 Holdings have been fined £7.8 million for similar offences. I mean, essentially what William Hill were doing, as you just heard from Tim Miller from the Commission there, was that they weren't necessarily satisfying themselves that the source of the money being gambled was legitimate. I mean, the Commission has cited one of the 10 instances that they've alighted on here was a guy who was earning around £30,000 a year, and he actually gambled £541,000 over a 14-month period, and William Hill had only really verbally had conversations with this guy without really going into detail about where the money was coming from. So that's essentially what the Commission is driving at. Some 1.2 million, as you say. This is the proceeds that Hill's made from these gambles. The fine is £5 million. That 1.2 million is largely going to be refunded to the employers from whom this particular individual stole the money from, and that's essentially what has been going on here. It's people stealing from their employees in order to gamble, and the rest of it will go to charity, as I say. Now, I've got a comment from William Hill in response to this. The Chief Executive, Philip Bocock, says William Hill has fully cooperated with the Commission throughout the process, introducing new and improved policies and increased levels of resourcing. We've also committed to an independent process review and will work to implement any recommendations that emerge from that review. We are fully committed to operating a sustainable business that properly identifies risk and better protects customers. Now, as you heard from Mr. Miller there of the Gambling Commission, essentially, because as gambling moves more and more online, it ought, in theory, to be easier for gaming companies to monitor the activity of customers more accurately and work out where that money is coming from. And clearly these fines, as I say, this is the latest in a series of fines aimed at doing that and ensuring that the gaming companies really do stick to the code.
Ian, thank you.
I've been getting away with it all